Subscribe to AmpCode and ring the notification bell to get the latest content.
Hello and welcome back. In the previous lectures, we have seen all about how we can use Kafka Connect to integrate with all the different sinks as well as the sources. So here, let's talk about how to process our data in real time using Kafka. So without further ado, let's get into it. So basically, Kafka client APIs are nothing but will allow you the capability to choose from variety of programming languages, so that you can code in your favorite language, and also for producing as well as consuming the data from the Kafka topics. But it's not about producing and consuming. We also want to transform the data on the go so that it will be ready for the further analytics. So our data could be in such a way that every data analyst or the data scientist can easily dig into that to find the hidden patterns out of your data. So we can integrate like heterogeneous different data systems using the Kafka connects. So we have seen that in the previous lecture. So this has like the extensive suite of a pre-built connectors which are provided and supported by the community itself, or else we can use the Confluent Kafka which we talked about in the previous lecture. So here we can have a framework which will allow us to build custom integrations. So this we have already talked about, and that we are going to see in the hands-on tutorial. But let's talk about how to transform the data. That is the biggest question. So we can use the Kafka streams. So this Kafka streams is nothing but a Java library which for developing the streaming application. So by meaning streaming applications, we can have a Java streaming app for processing the data which is flowing through the Kafka topics. So this will process the data in real time so that we can dump that data into our data warehouse for further analytics, or maybe to build some reports on top of it. How the data is consumed, this we already know, but let's focus on what type of transformations we can use for processing the data using Kafka. So basically, as we already know that the common requirements in the data processing, which will include the filtering the data, because our data could be coming from various sources. Each data source can have their own format as well as the standards. So let's say our data is coming in real time from a website, it can also have a junk value. So basically you have to filter the data as well as transform it to the required format by applying some action. So this action we have already seen in the Spark tutorials, where we have seen all about the transformation as well as the actions and how it works under the hood. But here we have to transform the data in real time. So the transformation will happen on each data record at a time. So these are basically categorized as a stateless transformations. So this Kafka streams, which is nothing but a Java library, is nothing but an ideal solution if you want to transform the data and apply some stateless transformation on top of the streaming data, which is nothing but a real time in nature. So this K-streams abstraction of this Kafka streams will offer you the functions such as filter, map, group by, etc. So these functions we already know how it works under the hood, because they are similar to Spark itself. The functionality will be very similar to Apache Spark. So we know about the filter operation, the map, the group by, everything we have seen in the previous tutorials and the hands-on lectures. So we can process the data using the Kafka streams that we are going to see in our hands-on tutorial. Well, we'll get our hands dirty and write a single application, write an end-to-end simple application which utilizes Kafka and connect to different sources as well as the sink. So now let's shift our focus on very important concept of Apache Kafka, which is CDC. So the CDC is nothing but a change data capture. So we'll see what it is and also how it is implemented in your data solution and why we are using it. So basically the change data capture, also known as CDC, is nothing but a technique used to capture and monitor the real-time data, or we can say it as near real-time. So in case of Spark streaming, we have seen that it processes the data in near real-time, and this changes we are going to capture in the source data system. So let's say if a record is added in the database at source, so let's say if we have a Cassandra as a source of our Kafka topics, then if there is any change, then that will be recorded in the logs. So the CDC, the task of the CDC is nothing but to track all these changes and then pick all those changes and then write it back to our target. So the CDC is like operates by tracking modifications in the source database's transaction logs that we have seen right now, and also it works as a similar connect mechanism as well. So here this figure will represent how the CDC works and how Kafka Connect help to CDC to capture all these changes and write it back to our destination. So as you can see, we got a Confluent Kafka cloud, which is nothing but the Kafka which is provided by the Confluent platform. So as you can see on the left hand side, we have all the different sources. So as in the figure, you are going to see that these are nothing but coming from the website. I can also see the Salesforce, the Java JDBC, the Oracle. We also have the MySQL, SQL Server, or else the data could be coming from a CSV file as well. There are multiple source systems that you can integrate with the Kafka cluster using the Kafka Connect. So here we are just going to define the source connector properties that we have seen. So it's just a file modification, and then you will be all set to consume the data from these sources. Then we have, like, on the right hand side are nothing but the sinks, which is the target. So the Kafka Connect will pull the data from the topics and then write it back to these sinks. So we have like the Oracle, PostgreSQL again. So these are like similar kind of application, similar kinds of databases, but also it can integrate with the HDFS as well. Then we can see the Neo4j graph database as well. So using Kafka Connect, we can integrate all these services together to build your data platform for your organization, and then it can be consumed by the applications. So applications can read and write the data to the Kafka, and using Kafka Connect we can integrate the different services to make the system the data fabric of your organization. So you may ask when we can use the CDC with Kafka. So for real-time analytics, this is the biggest use case for CDC. So the CDC will empower us for performing the real-time analytics, which will enable us to make the proactive decisions and react instantaneously to emerging trends. So basically, let's say for example a user will visit an e-commerce website. So e-commerce platform, most often they have the product recommendation system will recommend the user new products by checking their history, the search history, as well as the buying history and what products their friends has bought. So according to that, the recommendation system algorithm will work in real time and takes the decision, and user can get the recommendation system within a second. So this is the power of the real-time analytics, and CDC with Kafka will able to give you all that. The next one will be the data warehousing. So it streamlines the synchronization between the source and target system, as we have discussed in the previous topic, and also it is pretty useful for microservices and event-driven architectures. So it facilitates the seamless exchange of data between the microservices, which will help you create a responsive as well as the scalable applications. So since it is a distributed application, scalability will come into picture. So these are some of the use cases where CDC with Kafka is a great choice for you. So I hope you understood all the concept of Kafka Connect, the CDC, as well as how we can process the data with Kafka using the Java streaming app. So in the next lecture, let's get our hands dirty and have some hands-on tutorial on Apache Kafka and build an application which consumes the data from multiple sources and writes it back. So I'll see you in the next one.
So that's it for today. I'll see you in the next lecture.